right, Mr. Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, thank you, and let me cut right the heck to the chase. When we consider cognitivist-based approaches to regime theory and international political economy, we're too often, in my mind, dissuaded for accounting in ways in which new norms... The chase, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, please cut to the chase. Yes, let me revert to political mode. Canadians are worried about their jobs. They're worried about health care. Those aren't really questions. They're worried about how to afford dang hockey equipment for their dang kids. Goalie pads. Listen, fundamentally, the point is this. When Canadians expected an accountable government, what they got was a government with zero transparency. A government that disbands committees looking into things that might embarrass the Prime Minister. A government that dissolves Parliament, makes us meet in a shoebox. Hear, 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 hear. Oh, please. A government that shut down the inquiry into the torture of Afghan détenus and actively hides what they knew about it. Would you stop? When will this government accept that its obligations are to Parliament and the Canadian public? Objection. You can't interrupt other members when they're speaking, Mr. Prime Minister. Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Prime Minister, this is not the Judge Judy. Mr. Speaker, to be perfectly frank, and I think you and I both know this, the average Canadian voter can't tell the difference between Parliament and Judge Judy. They can't even tell the difference between the Reform Party of Canada and the Conservative Party of Canada. I think that's pretty clear. And I can guarantee you that right now most Canadians are just out there enjoying our stimulus, just looking for great buying opportunities. They're not watching a session of Parliament. So you might want to relax on the formalities and just leave this thing to me. Objection! Times a million! Hush it, Jack. Major objection, Your Highness. I don't enjoy his stimulus. What about accountability? What about transparency? What about... Listen, Canada's new government is the most accountable and most transparent in the history of this country and in the history of the world. The only authority with greater moral imperative to govern than us is the Lord our God, Jesus Christ himself. And if the Leader of the Opposition had spent more time in Canada and less time as the gay lover of the King of France, then he might know that. Now, I'd like to go take a bath in some molten lava. Can we wrap up here pretty soon? Mr. Speaker, the NDP opposes this Prime Minister wholeheartedly and entirely, and his undemocratic behavior is thoroughly unacceptable. We will fight it every step of the way. Unless the Liberals do, in which case we won't. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals indeed do oppose this government. Mr. Ignatieff is not being very helpful. Mr. Speaker, I return to the point. We want the truth on the Afghan détenu torture file. We want it now. And if we don't get it, there are going to be serious consequences. Very, very serious. Quite serious. We want the truth. Mr. Speaker, if the Leader of the Opposition had spent more time in this country instead of consorting with vampires in the Bulgarian Highlands, then he would know that there's no need for truth in the House of Commons. It's a shoebox! Can we move on? Member for Toronto Danforth. Mr. Speaker, if I may. Working families. What is this government doing to ensure that working families are working and not working? Not working families will not work. It is not workable not to work. And what would Mr. Ignatieff do but support the Harper agenda to keep working families, not working families, families working families, working. Mr. Speaker, I do understand that Canadians want to work. But more importantly than food, warmth, and gainful employment, Canadians want to live in a country that inspires them. They don't want to go abroad and find that people of the world are ashamed of us, ashamed of our record on the environment, ashamed of our film industry. Hubbub, 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 ruckus, ruckus, hubbub. Order in the shoebox. Mr. Speaker, my opponents can get excited. A small part of me envies their ability to experience emotion. However, for the most part, I don't care. The majority of elected officials in this chamber are enemies of mine. Less than a third of Canadians support my government. I govern with barely a thread of democratic legitimacy. And yet, look at me. Look at me. I am powerful. All powerful. I think that's all I need to say to you right now.
That's a pretty crappy laugh, Mr. Prime Minister.
We want accountability now. And if we don't get it, we will act. All right, I'm getting pretty bored now. I think I'm going to go for my bath in molten lava. Thanks. So I'll see you guys all later.
You can't just leave the House of Commons, Mr. Prime Minister. We're in session.
Oh, really? Oh, I see. Right. Okay, then. All right. You know, let me just hang on a second here. Let me just make a quick little phone call. All right? How's that? Okay, just one sec. Okie doke. All right. Doot. Hi, Michelle. But who's this then? Her maid? Right, well, put Michelle on. She's at lunch at the bread garden? Okay, well, look, you're her maid, so you work in her house. That's good. What's your name? Mindy. Hi, Mindy. Look, since you're Michelle Jean's maid and I'm the Prime Minister, I hereby empower you with the magical ability to do all the Governor General's work anytime she's at bread garden. Agreed? Agreed. Good. Okay, so, Mindy, I need to ask you to shut down Parliament for me. No, the Shoebox Parliament this time. Yeah, right now. Yeah. I want to go have a bath in some molten lava. Yeah. There's a Senate appointment in it for you. Don't worry. Come on. When I know your English isn't that great, no problem. Just repeat what I say. Just say, Mr. Harper, you're allowed to shut down the Shoebox and kick all its elected representatives in the groin. He can't the heck do that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if the leader of the opposition was a real Canadian and not a three-eyed ballerina from the planet Neptune, then he might be in a position to talk. Let's roll. All right, here we are. Okay, yeah. Okie doke. See ya, bye.
What? Stop him! Stop him immediately! Gilles, this isn't a tea party. Do something.
Well, is it good for Quebec?